Is the Pokemon market slowing down? Why are prices falling? Is there going to be a bear market? How do I protect myself? These are some questions you're probably asking yourself right now, and it's probably why you clicked on this video. And in this video, I'm going to discuss why we're seeing these market drops, why we're seeing the prices start to go down, and what my current plan is. So let's get into it. Of course, the larger picture is the overall economy. Right now, unemployment is going up at a pretty fast rate, right? We're at 4.4% unemployment, and you can see that this is growing day by day. So definitely not good for the overall economy. And that's of course going to affect your risk assets such as Pokemon, right? Pokemon at the end of the day is a risky asset, right? It falls under that asset class. So when the times are tough, people are going to naturally try and get rid of these risky assets that they hold. But if you believe in Pokemon product as an alternative investment asset, then none of this matters, because as you know, markets go up and down. And if you're confident in the Pokemon markets, then you're also going to be confident holding these long term, because you know that markets go up and down. Other than those large macroeconomic factors, which quite frankly are the main leading cause of what we're seeing right now, there's also the restocks and reprints happening to some of your top Scarlet and Violet sets, right? These are things like the Destiny Rivals booster box reprint we got about a month ago, right? That brought the price of Destiny Rivals booster boxes, which was going crazy back then. It was at over $500 a booster box, brought it back down to about $350, and now it's holding steady in the $350 to $400 range, which is good to see, right? You want to see these reprints happen, and you want to see it cool down the price of some of these very hot sets. Same thing with Prismatic Evolutions. We've seen multiple restocks of the ETB as well as other ancillary products, and we could even see more ETB restocks in the future. So definitely keep your eyes out on Prismatic Evolutions. And then we're also seeing Paldean Fates restocks, right? We're seeing this collection box release probably in the next couple of weeks. So we're seeing all these recent popular sets get restocked, which injects supply into the markets, which in turn affects the price of those sealed products. And this is also causing a trickle-down effect into other products. Right now, for the first time in a very long time, we're starting to see some product sit on shelves. This was the recent Charizard UPC that launched, and in GameStop, it actually sat on shelves because it was priced at $199. So this is more of a GameStop problem than anything. But a couple months ago, we probably wouldn't have seen this, right? If this was a prismatic UPC, then it would not be sitting on shelves even at $200. So definitely the market is cooling, and we're seeing proof of it right now. Now, what should you be doing in this market right now that we're having? Of course, there's the macroeconomic uncertainty, but overall, long term, if you know that Pokemon is going to be here to stay, then you should have no problem buying at some of these low prices that we're seeing now. Now, can they go lower? Possibly, especially if we see a pretty heavy recession hit in the next couple of months. But you can't bank on that happening. So the best course of action is to dollar cost average into your positions. And what are those positions that I am targeting? First and foremost is Sword and Shield. I think Sword and Shield is a pretty safe play right now and into the future as well. So some of the top booster boxes include Brilliant Stars, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, and Lost Origin. The prices to the left are the high that they hit a couple months ago, and then the current price is the one to the right. So we've seen a pretty big retracement on almost all of these, right? A 20 to 30% retracement, and I think they could potentially go a little bit lower, but I wouldn't really bank on it, right? I wouldn't bank on any of these Sword and Shield booster boxes getting down to the price of your Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, because these are quite a bit older, they're a little bit more scarce, and I think Sword and Shield overall is going to be the better play, the more safe play long term, if you don't want to see, too much volatility in the boxes that you hold. You know that these aren't going to be reprinted, and all these sets that I have shown here are very, very solid and highly desirable sets. I think Brilliant Stars and Evolving Skies specifically are the two that I am targeting, because I only have one Brilliant Stars booster box and I do not have any Evolving Skies. I think both of these are going to do very well in the future. I can even see a world where Brilliant Stars somehow takes over and becomes more expensive than Lost Origin. I could definitely see that happening. I don't want it to happen because I have quite a large Lost Origin booster box position, but I can see that happening. So that's why I want a position in Brilliant Stars. And then Evolving Skies, you guys already know, this is the team up of the Sword and Shield era. This is at $2,000, and it's most likely going to be over a $10,000 booster box one day. And for Sword and Shield, I would mainly just stick to booster boxes instead of, ETBs or PC ETBs. Maybe for Evolving Skies, I would buy ETBs as well because the booster box is just so expensive. And I think the Evolving Skies ETBs are quite undervalued. But overall, I just like booster boxes, right? They are the best single product to invest in my opinion, other than, of course, booster box cases. They don't take up space. They're very easy to store, and they're very collectible, and they're very easy to ship. So definitely booster boxes are the play for Sword and Shield. So Sword and Shield is the safe play, but I think Scarlet and Violet is the better long-term play in the fact that it will give you more percentage gains, right? A lot of the gains in Sword and Shield have already been made, like the easy gains have already been made, right? The rest of the gains is just due to scarcity and just time for Sword and Shield. But for Scarlet and Violet, the value is that all of these booster boxes and ETBs and all the products are still relatively close to retail price. Now, obviously, you have a lot of products right here that are above MSRP, and they have a relatively moderate to high reprint risk, right? Think of things like the Destin Rivals booster box, think of things like the Prismatic ETB, the booster bundles, the Surging Sparks booster box. These are all products that are very, very popular and will do extremely well in the future, but they definitely have a reprint risk right now. So for these products, I still don't think it really matters because we've already seen a pretty big decrease in the price for these products. At the price they are right now, I would personally be comfortable buying, other than maybe Destin Rivals because it's still sitting at $400. I really wish it would have come back down to maybe $300. But all three of these other products, right, the ETB, the booster bundle, and the Surging Sparks booster box, I think are great buys at their current price points. And to a lesser extent, Destin Rivals, I think this still needs to come down maybe back to the 350 range, and then I would definitely be a buyer. And then you also have your low reprint risk products, right? These are the products, the Scarlet and Violet products that are at the end of their print cycle. So all three of these sets, Paldea Evolved, Paldea Fates, and 151, they go out of print in April 2026, so just in a couple of months. Usually when sets go out of print, that means that the floodgates open and the price, right, doesn't really have a floor anymore. It can only really go up. And I think these are three very, very highly desirable sets for Scarlet and Violet. Right? I have a few Paldea Evolved booster boxes. I really want to get more. They're actually at a pretty good price right now at under $400. I think they're sitting at like $350 or something. So definitely a good opportunity to get into Paldea Evolved. And then for Paldea and Fates, I think the booster bundle right now has gone down a little bit. I think it's sitting at $90, so definitely a good buy. And then 151, I think at $90 or even $95, a booster bundle is a good buy. The booster pack prices for these sets are going to be $20 to $30 not too long from now, so definitely a good buying opportunity right now before these sets go out of print. So to summarize, if you want a very safe play, I think Sword and Shield is the safest play that you can make, right? Buying these booster boxes. You're not going to see the craziest gains because, once again, a lot of the gains have already been made. A lot of the easy money in Sword and Shield has already been made. But if you want steady growth, then I think Sword and Shield is the play, similar to how Sun and Moon was a couple of years ago, right? These are basically sitting at the same price as a lot of those Sun and Moon booster boxes just, 2 or 3 years ago. And then for Scarlet and Violet, if you want the best ROI in a couple of years, then I think these products, Destin Rivals and Prismatic Evolutions, is definitely going to be your play. These are still relatively cheap, especially Prismatic. I still think Prismatic is the best investment you can make. The ETB, the booster bundle, and the PC ETB. And then if you want something that is slightly riskier than Sword and Shield, but will probably get you better returns, then I would target the low reprint risk, almost out of print Scarlet and Violet products like Paldea Evolved, Paldea Fates, and 151. So hopefully you learned something from this video, guys. And once again, if you believe in Pokemon as a long-term alternative investment, that you should not be afraid of these market downturns because it is normal, right? Markets go up and also markets go down. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.